Well, good evening, everyone. Meteorologist Michael Wilhite here, wilhitewx.com. Want to bring you a quicker forecast update tonight. Still looking for some snow on Sunday, but I'll tell you the data has definitely trended a little bit lighter. The data has trended a little bit more south than what it was showing in some of the previous days as well. So let's just sort of dive right into it. The GFS has certainly trended lighter than what it was. If you look at the latest run this afternoon, here we start off early on Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, and then into Sunday evening. You see it's a pretty, it's snowing over much of the area most of the day on Sunday. But you notice the colors are light blue. They're not quite the darker blues that what we saw earlier there. Canadian's still holding out for a little bit more. It's very similar to the GFS in track. However, you notice that you've got some darker blues mixed in here. It's a little bit more of an intense precipitation rate. Here's the high-res NAM, and at this point, as close as we are in the game, really we need to start looking at the high-res data more than the global models. At this point, they're starting to get into the range of being a little bit better. Here you go as you start the day on Sunday morning. So this is 7 a.m. Eastern time. There's the snow working out to our west and sort of working in over a good chunk of southern Indiana. If this is right, church services early on Sunday morning would be right, and it would be later in the morning, to late morning into early afternoon before we start to really see some things moving through. But it does eventually overtake the entire state here as you get into the afternoon hours. Here's 2 o'clock Eastern time on Sunday, and then of course that rolls through the area and then moves out after that. Now it's a fairly quick hitting thing. You still have several hours worth of snow, but the problem with this, as you look at this, you notice it looks like there's some decent dark blues, some decent precipitation rates there. The real problem that we're going to have is temperatures, and because this is falling during a daytime event, we're going to have a hard time getting a lot of this to stick to the ground the way things are looking right now. Here's temperatures. As you go Saturday night into the early overnight hours, you're starting to sink down. But as you get into Sunday morning, we haven't gone below freezing here over a good chunk of the area yet. Here's 7 a.m. on Sunday morning. And here you notice as you warm up during the morning hours, well, you've got temperatures above 32 over almost all of southern Indiana here and Kentucky. And really, you don't start to see that sink south until you've got the snow pretty much just on its way out of here, and the back end of it is coming on. And so here's the bottom line. Can you still get snow to pile up if you're running, say, 34, 35 degrees? Absolutely you can. However, you have to have a rate that's fast enough to be able to accumulate, because you're going to have some melting whenever surface temperatures are that way. But you need, if you have enough of a rate coming down so that it's accumulating faster than it's melting, you can pile some up. So that's a question then. Are you going to have a really juicy system that has a lot of snow to come down with this? Or is it going to be on the not as impressive of a system as far as moisture, and so a lot of it's going to melt? And really that is the exact struggle that the models are coming up with right now. Let me show you what the data shows. Here's the high-res NAM, the 3-kilometer NAM, and it's showing very minimal accumulations across the area. Even though when I showed you the high-res NAM, you'll notice you did have quite a few really dark blues come across there, so we've got some decent precipitation rates. But still, you've got warm temperatures there, and it's not enough to overcome it. And you see that it has a very minimal amount of accumulation on there. The afternoon GFS has started to come on board. Here's the afternoon run. Here's the morning run of that this morning. And you see it's trending downward. If I would have showed you a few other runs prior to this, you'll see that it's been trending down literally every single run with this as well. Canadian is still holding on board with a fair amount of snow across the area. So if you're a snow lover, there is still a little bit of hope. The Canadian is actually just a little bit cooler than what the high-res NAM is. And so as it's just a little bit cooler, a little bit heavier on your precipitation rates, more of it can fall. Right now it's kind of the outlier. But the Euro is also suggesting this as well, and it's still got 3 to 4 inches of snow across the area, although you notice there's some 5-inch totals here with this as well. So the Euro is a little bit less, but you get the idea. They're on a similar frame. So you've got the Canadian and Euro solutions, which are suggesting to us that we could get some decent accumulations out of these. Then you've got the American solutions, the NAM and the GFS, which is suggesting maybe not as much on this. So you've got to two different camps in the modeling right now, and honestly, it'll probably be tomorrow before we start to have that worked out. So yes, there is a possibility that we do see a little bit of snow out of this. I wouldn't get too worked up about the amounts just yet. Here's my first call, and I'm going to go with 1 to 3 inches for most of the area. Now, again, as I've been doing this season, I have my boom and bust numbers on here. So let's say we've got a boom. Let's say the Euro and the Canadian solution is right. Maybe you do get that 3 to 4 inches of snow out of this. But if the high-res data seems to be right and there's a heavy bust potential of this, then you may end up with less than an inch. So the general forecast, everything in the dark blue here, is 1 to 3 inches of snow. That's the most likely solution. But just know that there is data suggesting boom and bust on this. And so hopefully we'll be able to sort of fine-tune those details tomorrow. Also along the side, you've got some radar snapshots here, which can kind of give you an idea on the timing once again for this as well. As of right now, the winter storm watches are all out to our west. They've not been expanded into the area yet. I doubt they will get expanded into the area. There's just not enough forecast confidence for a winter storm. You need 4 inches of snow or more, and there's really just not enough confidence that we're going to see that yet. I would expect tomorrow sometime you'll see winter weather advisories issued. The Weather Service has said that they are holding off on issuing those right now simply because there's not enough confidence in how far south this 1 to 3 inch swath would likely go. And so, the advisories there'll be a hold off on those until tomorrow, but you'll definitely see those issued out tomorrow. I'm pretty sure with that. So by tomorrow morning, we should be able to get pretty good high resolution data off of this. And we should be able to, get a fine-tuned snow forecast out a little bit more. Again, this is not looking like a huge storm, and so I'm sorry for those of you that were all excited about your weather app saying 5 to 8 inches of snow for the area. As I had told some of you that had messaged me about it, I was very skeptical of that. This is why you don't trust those apps that far out. Snow can't accurately be forecasted in amounts more than a couple of days out. And to be honest with you, if the trend in the data is right, this is my first call. I may have to go down to a dusting to 2 inch in this if the data continues, literally, folks. The downward trend in the data is there every time. So this isn't the most high confidence of forecast. It's only a first call. I'll have the final call forecast out tomorrow night. But overall, I don't expect this to be a big, impactful event. But nonetheless, you know how it is when it snows around here and people drive like they have no sense out on the roads. So there still can be some travel issues with this. Hopefully not as much with temperatures in the mid-30s. Here's a one general rule of thumb to think about as I let you go here. It's March, and generally whenever you are thinking about March snows, if it snows during the daytime, you're probably not going to get much of anything in the way of accumulation. That's just a general rule in forecasting that we go by here in the Ohio Valley. You have a higher sun angle in March. It's late winter. It's not early winter. It's not the dead of winter. You have a hard time getting snow to stick during the daytime. So keep that in mind. If I'm going to say one side or the other, I'll be honest with you and say the bust potential for this is large and the boom potential seems to be pretty low to me. That's where we stand right now, folks. I'll have another video for you tomorrow.